Now we get to the transition pictures for Christopher Hitchens and Mother Teresa. You suggested this, not me, but it brought together a woman who is incredibly pious and did good for the world on a daily basis and who won the Nobel Peace Prize, and a guy who was a super smart debater, writer, author, and polemicist, basically. Let's do Christopher Hitchens first. He was not an atheist, but an antitheist. He believed that anything to do with God and religion was bad for the world. And he took that message and wrote books about it and articles about it and attacked Mother Teresa. He said that she was actually letting people suffer, taking in millions of dollars in donations, but not spending it on patients. And that really what she was doing was proselytizing for the church and trying to get more and more people converted to Roman Catholicism. He died in 2011 of pneumonia, actually, following a lot of cancer treatment for his throat. He was a heavy, heavy smoker, and a heavy drinker as well. And he apparently never regretted it. If he had his life to live over, he would have gone back and done exactly the same thing again, he once said. So I look at his pictures. I couldn't find him at first, but when he appeared, he came in chest first. He was bloated out. It's like, oh, here I come. But instead of being a tunnel filled with air, it felt like glue. He couldn't even see clearly what was around him. There was definitely a current pulling him. We decided it was grace, was trying to coax him down the tunnel. But for some reason, he wouldn't agree to the process. He wouldn't concede an inch to grace. Eventually, it cleared a little, but even then he was wriggling. It was like he's no, contorting and pushing himself in various shapes, like no. So unwilling to lower his resistance. I've never witnessed anything like this. It was exhausting to watch and claustrophobic. He kept trying to breathe like a fish on the land, you know. He just wanted to breathe and there was nothing to breathe. There was no air. And he didn't seem to understand that. He just wanted to yell at him, let go. But even the most resistant characters seem to concede ultimately. It wears them out, I think. The further they get away from where they started, and the more clarity they get, and the less viscous and foggy the atmosphere becomes, the more realistic they become about what's just happened, that it is over, that they don't have a choice. But he was a tough one. He got to the chamber that I always see, which is symbolic of the end, basically, of this period of transition. He gets to the chamber, and there's the membrane I always see, and the whole place is swirling with what look like fragments of glass, debris. It's swirling around to throw him off balance or beat him down or just cut resistance off him or something. It was frenetic, this thing, swirling parts. Somehow he dodges them, but at this point he realized, oh, okay, I am wasting my time trying to resist this. It's gonna happen anyway. And so, with these fragments of glass still swirling around him, he goes down to the surface of this membrane thing I always see, lies on it, sinks into it, and vanishes. By the time I'd done these pictures, I was worn out. He was a tough cookie. intellectually, analytically. Just a difficult man, basically. And that difficulty took a long time to wane. So that was him. Then I looked at Mother Teresa. She, if you know her story at all, decided that she would, having been a nun for a lot of her life, decided she would stop being a nun and actually get in among the people of Calcutta, live with people who had AIDS and leprosy, or who were orphaned, and she would live among them and help them individually. She set up this Catholic organization called the Missionaries of Charity, and they had something like 4,000, 4,500 nuns all around the world in 133 different places, helping people with AIDS and HIV and leprosy and so on. It was a very, very magnanimous act. Christopher Hitchens, of course, said that she was simply trying to recruit for the Catholic Church and bring people to Jesus. I have no thought about that at all. I have no idea, but that was his view. But anyway, she was noted as being among the top 5 greatest Indians of all time. She won countless prizes. But then, I think in the 1980s, she had a heart attack, then another one, and from then on, she had a lot of health problems. She got malaria, I think pneumonia. She broke a collarbone at one point. She had a pacemaker fitted for her heart, and it was downhill, really, from there. She died in 1997 at the age of 87. And when I went into the pictures, such a difference to Christopher Hitchens. There was no element of even blowing into the tunnel. There was like an equivalent of a door hole that just allowed her entry. And she just walked in and stood there. That was it. She'd arrived. There was no resistance at all. But there was curiosity, I think, about what was this now? Because don't forget, when you have a very strong belief system in life, which has certain expectations attached to it, we talked about meta-narratives. When you have that, and then you're faced, even when your consciousness is faced after death, with a different kind of reality that is at odds with what you've believed, your meta-narrative up to the point of death, it takes time to sort out the difference, I think. There's a certain amount of confusion at that point. But what was interesting about her pictures was that as she moved down the tunnel, from the ceiling, there was a shaft of light, and it tried to lift her. She was invited to go up it. It was almost like a shortcut. This is where I thought I was making this up, right? But I couldn't get her to go up there. She didn't want to go up there. She didn't want the shortcut, which is extraordinary. She carried on through the light and out the other side. And she drifted on up the tunnel, probably wondering when she gets to meet Jesus. Of course, she doesn't get to meet Jesus. She gets to unite with the same energy that was Jesus's energy, because it applies to us all. When she got to the chamber where I always see this light, the light was incredibly bright, and there was no need for her to even enter the membrane. It just embraced her, and she became one with it. She became one with Jesus in that kind of way. If you accept that we are all one with that same energy. She became one with it. And I couldn't see an entry point. I couldn't see her walk into it or float into it or anything. She just became one with it, and the light was there, and she was gone, and that was it. But there was no resistance. A little trepidation because of the difference between what she'd believed in life and what was actually happening. I sensed that. But there was a certain element of humility even in this transition period, because she wouldn't say, "Oh, I'm special, I'll take the shortcut," which I found the most fascinating thing of all. She simply said, "No, thank you, I'm going the normal way." Her surrender was absolute. She just fell into the embrace of the divine, of unconditional love, and was greeted like an old friend and welcomed home. So interesting. Christopher Hitchens, meanwhile, her main detractor, had a really, really rough time. But then, of course, he would have gone into the light and everything would be fine, and he would become one with the same energy, and he would have realized that his struggle was a waste of time. But it was a rough one, that. But his own doing, I think. It doesn't have to be that way, but it was his own doing. All right, we're done. Thank you very much indeed for watching. I really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, share, do what you can. Follow me on Twitter @CashPeters. That would be nice too. Otherwise, I'll see you very soon, guys. Stay safe. See ya. Bye-bye.